that is many times relatively looked over. Chapter 3 is a chapter that has a long list of names of people who did certain or particular works. And sometimes when we get to those long list of names, we just kind of skim over that. That's what we find in chapter 3. And when we left Nehemiah last in chapter 2, in fact, let's go ahead and read those verses, chapter 2, verse 16, 17, I think, Scott. He says, Nehemiah, you remember, he went back to his homeland to build the walls, and this is his plea to the people. He said, then I said to them, you see the distress that we are in, how Jerusalem lies waste, and its gates are burned with fire. Come and let us build the wall of Jerusalem, that we may no longer be a reproach. Verse 18, and I told them of the hand of my God, which had been good upon me, and also of the God of the king's word that he had spoken to me. So they said, let us rise up and build. And then they set their hands to this good work. And so we see chapter 2 concludes with that thought that the people have heard the call and they are embarking on doing this great work of God. They said, let us rise up and build. And so this chapter 3, becomes just a list of names, but a lot of people skip over, but you miss a very important lesson. Because when we get to chapter 3, there's a phrase that's repeated over and over and over and over. It's the phrase, next to them. Say this, next to them. Next to them. Next to them. It's repeated over and over. And in fact, the phrase is used 20 times in this chapter. And so we're going to see how this relates to what he's talking about here. And so let's read today chapter 3, and we'll just read the first 5 verses to look at this thought today. Then Elisha, the high priest, rose up with his brethren, the priests, and built the sheep gate. And they consecrated it, hung its doors. They built as far as the Tower of the 100, and they consecrated it. Then as far as the Tower of Hananel. So we see that the priests began to build, and they built the sheep gate. Now, why is that important? I don't know. Well, who deals with sheep in the temple? Shepherds keep them out in the fields, but who deals with them in the temple? It's the priest. It's the priest who offers the sacrifice. And so that was particularly near the temple. And so they are doing a work that relates to their particular role in life. So that's a very important thought. Because we all have a work to do that relates to our particular role in life. And so let's go on and read verses 3 and following. And next to Elisha, the men of Jericho built. And next to them, Zechariah, the son of Imri, built. And also the sons of Hasaniah built the fish gate. And they laid its beams and hung its doors with its bolts and bars. And next to them, Meremoth, the son of Urijah, the son of Koz, made repairs. And next to them, Meshullam, the son of Berechiah, the son of Meshabel, made repairs. And next to them, Zadok, the son of Bana, made repairs. And next to them, the Kohites made repairs. But their nobles did not put their shoulders to the work, or to the shoulders to the work of the Lord. And so we'll stop right there. But you see in just these few verses how often this phrase, next to them, is repeated. You see, this phrase here it speaks of a very important truth that I want to get to today. And it is the fact that it takes cooperation in God's kingdom and in God's eyes in order for anything to be accomplished for Him. See, Nehemiah, he had the burden for the wall, but he couldn't build the wall all by himself. You remember 2 weeks ago as I talked about that God will give you a burden for something and you will begin to feel this is what God wants for you, but it may be you are called to a work or in response to something that you cannot do all by yourself. You may remember that Nehemiah in chapter 1, he plotted out the things that he knew would need to take place. And so when he went before the king, he said, I need this, I need provision, I need protection, I need a position of authority. And he said, these are the things I need. And so as you begin to experience God's call to His work in your life, you need to look around and say, what do I need? And if it's more than you can do, then you need to call for the cooperation of others. Now this may apply in your home. You see, it takes two to make a happy marriage. Would you say amen?
Amen.
Boy, that's a party. I don't know if that's because y'all really believe it or y'all have a fight on the way to church. But, just kidding. Not really. Ooh, that shook me up. But it takes two to make a happy marriage. You got to work together. How can Solomon said in Ecclesiastes, how can two work together except they be agreed? So you got to be pulling the same direction, so to speak. And so sometimes in life we feel like that we're the only one doing the work. A wife may feel like she's the only one trying to keep the house up. Well, that may be a part that she leads in, but she can't do it all by herself. She needs help. Women, that's a good time to say amen.
Amen.
You missed, y'all were slacking. And so, in parenting, one person can't do all the parenting in a home. You know what? God gave two. He gave you two so you could work together. And I don't mean bad cop, good cop. I mean that you are agreed and that you support one another and that you go at this parenting issue in a togetherness aspect. You know what? The same is true at church. When we do God's work, we've got to all have the same focus. We've got to all know what we're doing. We've got to understand that this is God's work. It's not Scott's work, or it's not Brother Mike's work, or it's our work. The Word He made us, it's a warm spring for everyone. And there's room for more. And so we all are working together to achieve God's purpose in our region of the world and all the way to the ends of the world, even through missionaries. And so this is something that all of us can be involved in. We can be involved in our homes. We can be involved in parenting. We can even make a difference in our workplace when we understand that we don't have to work solo, that we can work together. The problem is that we leave so much work to be done by so few. Most of you have heard the adage that 80% of the work is done by 20% of the people. And that's not just true at church. Most of you can tell that about your work. But we all have a part to do. And we all should do our part. And without feeling like we are working alone. There was a song, a real spiritual song, when I was just a kid. I think it was that group, Three Dog Night, had a song. One is the loneliest number. Well, I read about a man who went to the doctor because he was tired. The doctor asked him why he was tired, and he responded with this. And I'm not sure these numbers are correct, but he said, Doc, there are 200 million people in America. And there are 84 million of those retired. There are 75 million people in school. There are 22 million who are employed by the government or social agencies. He said there are 4 million in armed services. He said when you take all that away, there are 15 million people left to do the work. Then there are 14,800 state workers. He said you take all that away, that only leaves 200,000 people to do the work. He said, well, you've got to count the 188,000 that are in the hospital, they're sick, and now there's only 12,000 people to do the work. And of course, we can't forget that there are 11,998 people in prison in this country. He says, so Doc, that just leaves 2 people, me and you. And here you sit listening to me. That means I've got to do all the work. That's why I'm so tired. That's the way you feel sometimes. Don't hunt your spouse if you've ever said that, something like that to them, but you feel like you're doing all the work. And you know what? Sometimes people in the church, they feel like they're doing all the work. Sometimes it gets to be a lonely feeling. And I was telling the early service, I'm enjoying ministry more now than I ever have. And praise God, I don't feel this way. But a lot of times there may be somebody that's keeping the nursery regularly. And they're the regular fill-in. Like my wife. And as a result, she's filling in a lot. There may be somebody who you just feel by yourself leading your group or leading your class. But I want you to know the remedy for that type of feeling is first of all to understand the purpose of our work. Again, I refer to Nehemiah chapter 2 and verses 17 and 18. He said basically the purpose, guys, the reason we need to do this is one, we're not saved, these walls are broken down, but bigger than that is we are a reproach. It is a reproach upon who God is. We are God's people, and this is God's kingdom. And a church should never be a reproach on God. Because no one wants to do anything. Now don't get me wrong, that's not what this message is about. I'm not trying to tell you that you're not doing things, because this church does a wonderful job. But you know what? I found out there are plenty more people who could do, and if they did do, then we could do more. That's always the case. Nehemiah and the people completed the work, not because they were strong or smart, but because they understood and believed in that purpose. That they wanted to remove the reproach that was upon them and God's name, and they wanted to fortify their city for their own safety and their own good. They gave all they had, and they depended on God for the rest. And so oftentimes we don't do what we could do because we look at it as if the mountain is too big. I just want to remind you, Jesus said, with faith, the grain of a mustard seed, the smallest seed, he said, the mountain can be moved into the sea. See, you don't know what you can do until you activate your faith, until your faith goes to work for you. And so we see the purpose of their work was 2 things. First of all, it was the glory of God. I told you this a couple weeks ago. It was to remove the reproach, because when we work, God gets the glory. Now I want to amplify this in just a moment. To prove to you the point that I'm making here, I want to quote Jesus. You know those letters in red in your Bible? Matthew chapter 5 and verse 16. Jesus himself said this. He said, let your light shine before men, so that they may see your good works and glorify you. Is that what he said? No, that's not what he said. He said, glorify your Father who is in heaven. You see, the devil has hoodwinked some into believing that if you do something, if you step out front, that you're going to be noticed. I want you to know that's not true. Because when you begin to serve God, it's God that gets noticed. Because we all know you're no good. And we know I'm no good. Amen?
Amen.
That's true. We can't do God's work in our own strength. But God will do great things when we work for Him. And He is the one that gets glorified. So he said the purpose of the work is for the glory of God. It was for the good of the people. I made a big point out of this a couple weeks ago, but I felt like I need to revisit it. You see, God doesn't just want you to work just to work. He doesn't want you just to work with your spouse or work in your employment. But He also wants you to work in the church. Because, why? Because it's for your good. See, I grew up I was the baby in my family. Y'all know the baby gets away with everything. The older siblings, they have to do everything. By the time it gets down to the baby, he don't have to do anything. I was 16. I have a younger brother, but before he was born, I was 16. And so, I was the baby all my life. And I want you to know, my brothers learned how to work on cars. I never learned how to work on cars. My brothers learned how to clean out gutters. I never cleaned out gutters. I didn't have to. I had my brothers. My brothers painted the porch. I didn't get to paint the porch because they were doing it. They could do it better. You see, I didn't learn anything because I didn't do anything. But since I've become an adult, after 30-something years of marriage, my wife's trying to teach me to do some things because she was the oldest in her family. And she can do anything. Just ask. No, she won't tell you that. I'll tell you that. She can do anything. She can lay hardwood. She can paint a wall. She can build a wall. She can landscape. She can do it. Whatever it is. So it's for your good when you work. It's for your good when you work for His kingdom. Getting involved in Olympians or youth or teaching a connection class, you'll grow way more from that than the kids ever will. It's true. It's how you grow. You grow from serving. Now, in the church we make it real spiritual. We'll use a word like ministry or serving. But it's just another word for work. My work for God is doing this. And so God wants you to be involved in that. You've got to understand the purpose. And you know what? What you like, God will supply. I told him in the early service, this is something I learned years ago. Do your best. Pray that it's blessed. And God will take care of the rest. Do your best. Pray that it's blessed. And God will take care of the rest. He will never leave you short. You'll make up the difference. He's a way maker. Well, the purpose of the work, I got to hurry. Let's talk about the pattern of the work for a moment. You see, the Lord wants us to see that people, real people, did this work that's mentioned here. By listing all those names, they are written down so that we'll know they're just people like you and me. Some had some particular skills, and some had no skills. They're like me. The ones with no skills are the ones that became the speakers. But that's what they say. A preacher only works 2 hours a week. That's when he's in the pulpit. That's the only skill he's got. And you say, well, he didn't get any. I didn't get any. But they're people just like us. But they took up the challenge You see, God keeps up with their names. And that's why they're listed here. God knows who's working and who's not. You know, sometimes at Christmas we'll say Santa knows if you're naughty or nice. Well, God knows more than Santa. Santa is just, look at see who he's in here. Y'all know. But God knows. God knows if you're giving your best to Him. And each one of them had work to do. See, some of them were priests, some of them were shepherds, some of them were merchants, some of them were people who dyed cloth, some of them were farmers, some of them were people who could lift the rocks, and someone placed the rocks on the wall, and some of them cooked food, and some of them brought the food and the water to the workers. But they all had the work to do. They put their shoulders together to do the work that God had given them to do. You want to know about a church that's going down? It's a church that waits on somebody else to serve. See, we ought to do for free anything we could. I do this for free. Y'all just pay me so that I can do this. That I can do this, and I have done it when I didn't get anything out of it. I went to school, stayed up late at night, worked a full-time job, pastored the church, did all that at the same time, and had kids, little kids. Now, did I do it because somebody recognized me? No. I did it because I understood my purpose and it was what God wanted me. And so, understand the pattern. We all have a work to do. There's a pattern here that you can follow. Take your gifts, your talents, what you're good at, and put it to use in God's kingdom. You say, well, I can't do anything. All I can do is play rock music. Well, rock on for Jesus. Take that gift and talent and give it to Him. Let Him hone it the way He wants to. I can build buildings. Praise the Lord. Church, building builders. Let's talk about the people of the work. God's people must be united in Christ in order to accomplish it. We've got to be like the snowflake. Myself, a snowflake, can't stop or change anything. But you let a bunch of those boogers get together, and you'll have cars in every ditch. Not only that, nobody'll go to work that day. I can't come. What they really want to say is, I can't come, I want to stay home and play with the kids in the snow. But snow changes everything. You know, that's the way it ought to be when God's people work together. It ought to change everything. It ought to change everything in the church. It ought to change everything in our lives. It ought to change everything in the community. We should make a big impact for the glory of God when we work together. The Bible is full of illustrations about this truth, about how we all have different spiritual gifts in the body of Christ, but that we can all do something. Scott and I added a verse to the screen there. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 7. Look what it says here. He says, but the manifestation or the evidence of the Spirit is given each one. See, God's placed His Spirit within you. But then look at the rest of that. For the profit of who? Oh. You see, what you do is not for you. It's for everybody else. You say, well, who's doing for me? Somebody's doing for you. Somebody did for you this morning. Somebody came in here, turned the air conditioners on. Somebody cleaned the floors. Somebody got the building ready. Somebody did all that. Somebody planned the music. Somebody studied and prayed over a message. Somebody prepared. That's all done for you. And then you get to do for others. Sounds like a pretty good deal to me. God's people, we've got to unite around His purpose. We cannot all do the same thing, nor would we want to do the same thing. We can't all give the same, but we can all sacrifice in giving. Everybody can sacrifice in giving. And that's when a church does great work, is when everybody sacrifices some. We cannot all teach, but we can all listen. We can't all sing, but we can all tap our toe and smile and nod. Encourage those who sing and those who play. We can't all administrate, organize things. No, everybody has that gift. I don't have much of it anymore. But we can all assist. It's that old phrase we learned in sports. I say this because it's just practical. You know this. Together, everyone achieves more. Team. When we work together as a team, we all achieve more. And so let's notice the people who work very quickly. First of all, they were diverse. It's just in the ones we read about they were priests, and there were people from Tekoites, there were people from what's that city that fell down falls up? Jericho, thank you. My mind went blank. And somebody had to help out a preacher whose mind goes blank. Notice that the work began by the priests. That should show us something here, that the leaders lead by example. You don't want to know why I'm always here? Because I'm the leader. I come when there's nothing for me to do. But I'm here. Because I want to be here. I want to lead by example. I want to set the example for you in everything. Leaders lead by example. That's true with Sunday school connection teachers. That's true with Olympian leaders. That's true with youth leaders. You setting the example. That's how other people will get involved when they see you serving. When we see others serve, we realize that we should as well. And the joy of working, it inspires others to work also, to serve. You never know who may be listening to you or watching you as you serve God faithfully. But I will tell you this. I can't tell you the times I've heard people say, you know, oh, so-and-so, since they got involved in church and gave their life to the Lord, they're just always down there doing something. See, they know something's happened. It speaks to people. And you know, there are people deciding right now whether they want to be positive or negative in the work of the Lord. Whether they want to be a positive force or a negative force. And they're watching you to see if you are a positive force. And if you have joy in it, then maybe they'll have some joy in it too. See, we all have a circle of friends. We all have family members. We all have a community. It's to work in God's kingdom in this church and in our homes. And when we fail to do so, it hinders the work of God. There's nothing more terrible than when a home breaks up because mom and dad weren't on the same page. They weren't fulfilling the same purpose. One gets to feel like they're doing all the work, and this one feels neglected and this. When just a little time they can sit down and refocus their lives. And they both will be fulfilled. So we see that there were a diverse group of people. We see that there were dissenters in the group. Verse 5 says that there were the nobles of the Tekoites. They wouldn't put their shoulders to the work. But you know what? That didn't stop anybody else from working. If we were waiting on somebody else to do the work, so we'll work, then something's wrong with us. You see, when God calls us to do something, He wants us to do it. If nobody else does it. Richard used to say, if it hair lifts the devil. It's bad, not politically correct anymore to say that. But, you know, if the devil likes it, the devil don't like it. I'm going to serve the Lord. And so there's always going to be the sinners. But the most important part is there's going to be those people who are dedicated. And God can do more with the dedicated few than He can do with all the big group of the sinners or half-hearted. Well, finally, and I'll wrap it up. The principles of the Word. Now, we've been talking about cooperation and working together, so I'm not going to put that one in there. But there are some things that go with that. First of all, the principle that we see is the responsibility. That the priest felt responsible for the sheep gang. And you'll see later on, when they go back to, the wall gets halfway, and then they go back to work, and it will say, in chapter 5, I think it is, that they work on the part right in front of their home. You see, we have a responsibility for me and mine to do our work in the kingdom. You see, our kids know if we really practice what we say we believe. They know. They know by what we give to the work. I'm not talking about the money giving. Although they do ask about that. They wonder. But they know by what we invest of our lives. We have a responsibility to those who are of our household and those who are around us and those in our community to do what it is that relates to us. Paul said in 1 Corinthians chapter 9:16, he says, though I preach the gospel, he said, I have nothing to glory of. In other words, it's not anything to brag about that I'm a preacher. That's what he's saying. He says, for the necessity is laid upon me. Yes, it is woe unto me if I preach not the gospel. What he's saying is, God has called me to this. I have a need to do it from God. And if I don't do it, then I have a big woe before God. It's a negative. And God's going to speak to me about that. And so Paul was saying, I am responsible not only to myself, I'm responsible to other people, but I'm responsible to God. Which leads me to my next characteristic here, and that is accountability. Because when God gives responsibility, He also gives accountability. You see, man and wife, you each are accountable in the home. Why? You get to be accountable to your husband. But the husband's got to be accountable to God. You read Ephesians 5, we'll see that very clearly. The husband will give an account to God. And we will all give an account for our deeds done in this body, Paul says. We will all give an account for what we've done. The Bible says in Ephesians 2:10 that we are God's workmanship. We're His masterpiece. We're created in Christ Jesus unto good works, which God, before the world began, ordained that we should walk in them. And so one day we're going to stand before God, and there'll be a reckoning of the books of our life. That's what the word reckon means. It means an accounting. And we'll be accountable to God. And He'll say, why didn't you serve me? Why were you content just to come and sing songs and put a little money in the plate and go and listen when you could have went and led, when you could have been more involved, when you could have made a difference? You see, we're saved to do good works. And God's planned that from the very beginning. James chapter 2, verse 17 reminds us that faith without works is dead. It's easy to talk a good game. But God calls His people to be active in their faith. Faith without works is dead. And so God wants you to be involved. And then, I mentioned cooperation. You see, 1 Corinthians 3:9 says, we are laborers together with God. I told him in the early service about that old joke I heard years and years ago about the ant and the elephant crossing the bridge. Y'all heard that? I get to tell y'all. There's the ant and elephant crossing the bridge one day. And it was an old wooden, shackly-looking bridge. And they got to the other side. And the ant turned and looked up at the elephant and said, boy, we shook that one, didn't we? Now, some of you'll get that later on. You wake up and you're like, oh, that's what that meant. Sometimes we feel like we're the one doing the shaking. But when we work with God, He's the shaker. We're just along for the ride. He's the one doing everything. We just get to go along. And so God wants us to go along with Him. He's promised to be with us. He's promised us to enable us. He's promised us to make a difference if we'll serve Him. And so I'll say a word here as I close about appreciation. I mentioned the names that are listed. Those names are remembered in all of history. That's some 25, 35, 3,000 years ago, I guess, I don't know, that this was written. And here we are reading these names, very poorly, I might add. We might not pronounce them, but they're there. And it tells who they are. And it tells what they did. I want you to know today that God's got a list of who we are and what we do. And furthermore, Nehemiah wrote it down. You think Nehemiah appreciated these people who joined him in his burden? Sure. They joined him in what he knew God wanted him to do, but it was too big for him to do alone. Sometimes we feel that we're working alone, but if we're not, if we're actually working in a community of faith, we exist as a community of believers, a fellowship, we call it, a blessing, and a responsibility it is. And Nehemiah rejoiced in his community of faith, and he wrote their names down because they were not alone. He was not alone. And so there is appreciation when you serve Him. Well, let me close with a story. I read about a county fair where they were having a horse pulling contest. And this one particular horse that won pulled 4,500 pounds of weight on a sled. Second place horse pulled 4,000 pounds of weight. And the owner of the two horses got together and were talking afterwards. I wonder how much they could do if they were working together. One of them said, well, I don't think they could do as much because the weaker horse might not could pull as much as the stronger horse. And probably instead of 9,500 be 9,000 maybe. And the other man said, no, I think they could pull more if they were by themselves. And so they decided that they would team them up and just settle the argument. And so they teamed them up and they began to pull, and together those two horses didn't pull 9,000 or 9,500 or even 10,000. They pulled 12,000 pounds together. Way more than they could do individually. And that's the way it is when we begin to serve God. We can do more together than we can do by ourselves. And so it behooves us to cooperate. It behooves us to cooperate in our home, in parenting, and in our marriage. It behooves us to cooperate in our workplace. And it behooves us to cooperate in our community and in our church. God wants us to pull more together. And being together is not, just being together is not enough. We've got to be together working. When we work together, we can do more than we could ever do Sometimes in the Lord's work, we try to pull the weight of the job all by themselves. I've done that. I've been guilty of that so many times. Trying to do it all by myself. But when we team up with others, we work with greater efficiency and can accomplish much, much more. You see, when you say, I can't do it, maybe you can't do it by yourself. But you could do it if you work with someone else. That's why we have a team concept in our youth ministry, in our Olympians ministry, our children's ministry. We have a team concept so that together we can all do it. And so I want to say to you, let us this day, as a church and as a people, let us determine that we will continue to be a church that works together. That we don't just give up and say, well, I've done my time, it's somebody else's time now. No, you were never doing your time alone. You were always working with others. Don't give up. It's amazing what God can do in the years of your life if you'll work together. And let us not only determine that we'll continue to be that type of church, but let us today renew our dedication to the work of God in this place through His glory.